Shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua, Bashem Rukakadash. Double honors to the apostles, the elders of Great Millstone, and salutations to the hopeful that scattered abroad of the four corners of the earth. Man, so this is a story that I've been following today. It's about how dozens of Canadian churches have been vandalized and burned down. And they say that the reason why they've been vandalized is because there has been a mass grave discovered around those churches. Um, they say over 750 um, remains of people were found, and it's been said that it's indigenous people's remains. So I guess the GAD, is deciding to take out their anger and rage and burn down these churches. So I was watching a video that this creator did. Um, it's on BitChute. I'll probably put the link in the description so y'all go watch it for yourselves. And she's covering this story pretty well. So without further ado, let me play the audio to the video, and I'm gonna chime in on it.
Hey everyone, if you have been keeping up with my posts the last few days, then you will know churches in Canada are burning right now. Not because it is a damn hot summer there at the moment, but by deliberate arson. And I'm not just talking about one or two churches here. There are literally dozens being attacked. I can't even count how many have been targeted. Just last night in Alberta, 10 churches were the target of vandalism. Last week, 4 Catholic churches were burnt to the ground. This is getting insane. But why is this happening? What was the thing that sparked this? Well, if you are not a Canadian, you probably do not know the history of the settlers and the Indigenous in the country. And it is, a sordid past, quite similar to the history of America and Australia. And one particular thing in Canada.
No, it's not disordered. You don't even gotta be from Canada to understand the history of Canada. Of course, there was indigenous people that were there before, Christopher Columbus and all the European settlers came, and they raped, robbed, and murdered. They stole the land, they committed mass genocide, and the people that were left over, they indoctrinated them. So that's no secret. You don't even, like I said, you don't have to be from Canada to know and understand that.
That goes highly criticized is our residential school programs, where essentially children were taken out of Indigenous communities and sent to schools that would teach them to act like the European settlers and basically beat the Indigenous culture out of them. In some cases, quite literally, where kids were both physically and sexually abused. Many people refer to what happened as, at the very least, being a cultural genocide, and I would not disagree. Migrants coming to a new land and forcibly making a native people forget about their own history, customs, and language, and forcing them to change to theirs is absolutely destroying their culture deliberately.
This is Job 13 and 4. But ye are forgers of lies, ye are all physicians of no value. So you had, and you still have, the European settlers today that are continuing to indoctrinate Israelites. Because one thing that you have to understand is that these so-called indigenous people are part of the lost tribes of Israel. You know, Gad, Reuben, Manasseh. They are indeed the Israelites, and even Christopher Columbus admitted it. Um, he brought. There's a reason why he brought the Hebrew translators with him. There's been many books written about this, and he said that they came to the conclusion that these are the Israelites. You understand? And even all across North America, research and studies have been done, and they came to the conclusion that these people are indeed the Israelites. And if you pay attention, you would see that they even keep certain Hebrew Israelite customs, such as wearing the fringes, migrating from land to land because they kept the land Sabbath.
This is something all Canadians are educated on in school, and for the most part, we all agree was wrong. Now, recently, what has re-sparked this conversation of historical abuse is the discovery of hundreds of unmarked graves using ground radars at former residential and boarding schools in Canada in multiple provinces. And while the country seems completely shocked by this discovery, the truth is, for those who lived in these Indigenous communities and those who know the history, this actually was known well before the mass media attention. As noted in the National Post, from the earliest days of the Indian residential school system, the federal government openly acknowledged high rates of student mortality. An official 1907 report into Manitoba Indian residential schools even included charts cataloging pupils as either good, sick, or dead. There was never an official policy on how to handle the dead from Indian residential schools, but because the Department of Indian Affairs refused to ship home the bodies of children for cost reasons, it follows that most were buried on or near school grounds.
Wow. So them schools is like a two-way graveyard. You know, going back to what I read in Job 13:4, Forges of Lies. You know, these people indoctrinated them in their school systems and taught them their religions and whatnot, and made them forget about their past culture, their previous culture, to take on the European ideologies. And on top of that, they even buried some of these people where they was being indoctrinated at. So it's like a double graveyard. You was taught poison, you was taught death, and ultimately you was buried after your death, where where you was indoctrinated. So it's just like wow, these people are so like deceitful and diabolical. And watch, you're gonna see the nerve of this lady, as this video plays on.
This was confirmed by the final report of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission released in 2015. Many, if not most, of the several thousand children who died in residential schools are likely to be buried in unmarked and untended graves, it wrote. This is obviously horrific. I have not seen anyone disagree with that, and it's been a reopening of wounds for the nation to discuss and heal from. The National Post article actually offers some legitimate solutions and ways to make things better, like finding strategies to commemorate, protect, and document these grave sites. However, unfortunately, some people have very little interest in healing and actually improving the lives of all Canadians and properly documenting history, and simply want revenge, whether that revenge even makes sense or not. Which brings me to, what does any of this have to do with churches? Well, many of these residential schools were in fact run by churches, whether that be Catholic, Anglican, or otherwise, and overseen by the government as well, leading people to now blame all churches across Canada, despite the fact that the people who did this aren't even alive anymore.
This is Genesis 49:19. Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. So we're seeing things intensify as the hour shortens during this man's kingdom. And when I say this man, I'm talking about Esau, the so-called white man. So things are starting to escalate and get become worse and worse. And we're seeing Gad stand up, for the atrocities that have been done to them, you know? But like the scripture says, they're going to have the last laugh, you know? And the woman also mentioned trying to heal from this past. Oh, we gotta make things better for all Canadians. We gotta be able to heal from this. Um, what is what do you get out of this when the people that did this aren't even alive today? Well, I got news for her. You are your ancestors in the reincarnation. You are your forefathers. This is Isaiah 14 and 21. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land nor fill the face of the world with cities. So they gotta pay. They gotta pick up the tab for their forefathers. And that's thus saith the Lord. And when you bring this up to so-called white people, they don't like that. It makes them feel uncomfortable. They don't like really speaking about their past history. And you don't even gotta look that much farther. I mean, they still commit atrocities to this day, but it's just more like on a subtle level. But that's another video for another day. As it's a whole nother topic.
For these graves, which is possibly the dumbest reaction to this incident imaginably possible. Firstly, many of these churches being burnt down are on Indigenous land, meaning the members of the church, the people employed there, the people who run charity work there and are receiving it, the people who go to worship there, are likely Indigenous themselves and may even be the descendants of residential school victims. I cannot imagine how burning down their place of worship is going to bring them truth and reconciliation. And speaking of truth, if for some reason any of these churches were connected to the people have no idea. They're just arbitrarily attacking Christian churches. But let's say there were a church that did, and they went and burnt that down. They would be destroying evidence. They would be destroying history. They would be destroying people's abilities to properly document and account the stories of those who may have been impacted by the residential school program. Just stupid. But most importantly, out of all the reasons that could be listed, this is a crime. A crime against people who have done nothing wrong, and more so, a hate crime. You are destroying the place of worship of a religious group that is now gaining mass hatred in the country from the public for crimes they did not commit. No one is responsible for the crimes of a dead man, or even crimes of their relatives.
Oh yes, you are. I just read that in Isaiah 14 and 21. Like I said, the nerve of these people.
They would working before them. No one would take it as an acceptable excuse to burn down a mosque in Canada because of a Muslim terror attack. That would be a hate crime, and you would be arrested for it, rightly so, and it would be international news and the topic of political discussion for weeks.
She wants to speak about hate crimes. It was a hate crime what they did to the Native Americans. That was a hate crime.
In Canada. These church burnings, however, have been going on for weeks now, and I have only just started seeing them in the news somehow. And Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, has only commented on them for the first time yesterday. And what about progressive activists? What are they up to in all of this? Are they in an uproar about the destruction of worship sites in a country with freedom of religion? Are they upset about...
Alright, so that's it. Y'all get the point. These Edomites, they have a lot of pride on them, and They don't understand that they have to pay for what their forefathers did. You know, so that's just the truth. You know, all the atrocities that have been done to the nation of Israel, and specifically the the northern kingdom Israelites. You know, Gad, Reuben, Manasseh. You know, the so-called indigenous people. You know, they don't want to deal with it. So, like I said, I'll put the video link in the description box so y'all can watch it for yourselves if y'all want. Hope you'll find this video edifying. Shalom. Shalom.